Welcome back to the channel where today we are previewing the Europa League Final on Wednesday night between Eintracht Frankfurt and Glasgow Rangers in Seville. Now, being the complete football expert that I am, I predicted West Ham and RB Leipzig to be in the final, but of course that's not the case. So in this video I'm going to be previewing the final between Rangers and Eintracht Frankfurt. But before I preview the match itself, let's go on to and analyse the roots of both these teams and how they've got here. So let's start with Glasgow Rangers. They've been absolutely brilliant in the Europa League. They reached the round of 32 after finishing second in their group. And they had one of the hardest games in the last 32, playing Dortmund over two legs. But in the first leg, they won 4-2. They were absolutely brilliant and arguably could have scored 6 goals on the night. But in the end, they won 4-2. Brilliant, brilliant night for Glasgow Rangers. And I think at that point, even at that point, a lot of people thought, oh, okay, Rangers had their moment. They played brilliantly. They deserve to win, but they'll probably go out in the tie in the second leg, and they certainly won't reach the final. But oh no, Glasgow Rangers had other ideas, and they performed really well at home, getting a 2-2 draw, which meant that they went through. Then, in the next round, they played Red Star Belgrade, which is not easy at all. Luckily for them, in a way, they had the home game first, and they won 3-0 quite comfortably, and that gave them a real good grounding to go to Serbia and basically grind out a horrible result. And that's kind of what they did. They lost 2-1, but it was more than enough to go through to the next round. McGregor having a really good game that night. But, like I said, it was enough to get to the next round, even though they lost. They played Braga then, and I think arguably that was probably the hardest team to play over the two ties. If you look back, that game went to extra time in the second leg, and it was kind of looking nervy in the sense that, are Rangers actually going to get through? But in the end, eventually their dominance paid off in extra time. They got the goal, they went through against Braga, and then in the semi-final they played RB Leipzig, and they had the first leg away from home. And I mean, realistically, that tie was all about keeping the deficit as low as possible. And they did. They only lost 1-0 and they conceded in the 80th minute. And even though they lost, it kind of felt like a victory in the sense that all they need to do at Rangers was win by one win, and then at least the game goes into extra time. And the key for that second leg at Ibrox, with the atmosphere buzzing, was to make sure they scored early. And by having that grounding of only conceding one in Germany and only losing by 1 goal, the atmosphere was always going to be fantastic at Ibrox with a European semi-final tie, knowing that if they just scored early, they're right back in the game. But they did one better than that. They scored twice early on in the second half. In the first half. They scored twice early in the first half, which meant that going into half-time, they were ahead on the night. Of course, Leipzig scored to make it 2-1, and Cuckoo, who's been absolutely brilliant for Leipzig this season, he scored. But then John Lundstrom scoring to make it 3-1, which meant that Rangers booked their place in the Europa League Final in Seville. Now for Frankfurt, in my opinion, their run into the final was a lot easier. They played Real Betis, who are no mugs, and they beat them away from home. Then they played Barcelona away from home and won 3-2 going through that game. And then they played West Ham, and again they won away from home. And analysing Frankfurt's route, it's quite significant to see that in all 3 games in the knockout rounds, so in the last 16, the quarterfinals and the semi-finals for Frankfurt, in all the away ties they won. So that just shows that Frankfurt are very good at setting up away from home, defending in a low block, and then hitting teams on the counter-attack. And they did such a fantastic job at deflating the home atmosphere, especially against Barcelona, going 3-0 up, quite quickly actually, and then scoring so early on against West Ham at the London Stadium, which completely killed the atmosphere. And after that tie, both Declan Rice and David Moyes came out in the press and said, what really killed us was the early goal that we conceded in the first leg in the London Stadium. So that just shows massive credit to Frankfurt, who were able to completely kill the atmosphere in the home games that they played in this season. So Going into the final now, I'm not a betting man, but the bookies have Frankfurt as favourites. According to SofaScore, Frankfurt have a 44% chance of winning, while Rangers have a 32% chance of winning. For me, I think it's very much a clash of styles. I think Rangers are more comfortable in possession than Frankfurt and play with slightly more intensity, but Frankfurt are devastating on the counter-attack, especially with the likes of Kostic on the wing, who is excellent at crossing the ball. So I can see this game where Rangers have most of the ball, and I don't think it'll be a very pretty game, one for the purists, because I don't think both teams will be that intent on going forward and attacking. I would not be surprised if this game went to extra time and potentially penalties. And then looking at penalties, Rangers are quite strong at penalties. Tavernier, excellent at penalties. Then you have Kemar Roof, good striker. Lundstrom, who can hit a ball well. Camara, decent at penalties. Then you've got Frankfurt, who I guess you would say on paper have the higher calibre players, but Rangers will be well up for this game. And the atmosphere is going to be phenomenal. Both sets of fans have brilliant away followings. It's going to be electric. I cannot wait for this game. What I think is going to happen though, like I said, I can see this game going to extra time and penalties. I don't think it'll be one for the purists. However, I can just see Frankfurt winning. Unfortunately, from Glasgow Rangers' point of view, in my opinion, Frankfurt have a higher calibre of players, more internationals in their team, and they play at a higher standard than Rangers. I just think that cup final mentality will get Frankfurt through, and I could just see them winning. I can see heartbreak for Rangers, which would be devastating for them because they haven't been in this position since 2008, where they played Zenit in the Europa League Final in Manchester. But then aside from that, Rangers have not been competitive in Europe, really. So it'll be completely gutting for them to lose. And it's not, this is for me nothing against Glasgow Rangers. They've been phenomenal in the Europa League campaign. I've got nothing against them. I wish them all the best. I'm a complete neutral in this. I am going to lean with Rangers. Sorry, with Frankfurt. I'm going to leave with Frankfurt just because Rangers, I just have that feeling they're just not going to get through. Although, I say that, I've read a lot of online comments on Rangers, and the Rangers fans seem really confident. A lot of them have just had a feeling since they've played Dortmund that it was going to be their year, and it kind of has a sense of feeling that it might be their year. I just think Frankfurt are really strong defensively, and I can't see Rangers scoring. I don't think Rangers are going to score. I think Morelos is a massive loss as well for them, for Rangers. So I think Frankfurt will be really strong defensively, and I can see Frankfurt winning. I'm going to say Frankfurt win 1-0 in extra time, but it's going to be a really close game, so anything can happen, and I'm really looking forward to it. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Thank you.